Hello everybody. I'm assuming everybody can see me now. Hopefully the technology isn't letting us down, and this is our first webcast, so welcome everybody that's joined us. I can see we've got 60 odd people with us so far, so it's nice to have you watching this, and what an amazing opportunity this is for you to listen to two outstanding cricketers chat for an hour or so. And just before I hand over to them, I'll introduce them. So first of all, we got Ollie Hannon-Dalby, who you're going to see in a second. Ollie's been with the club. Oh, Ollie, you can hear me. What, 7 or 8 seasons now?
Yeah, I think this is my 8th season. That we're...
Yeah, 8th season, if it ever happens, that is. Yeah. Fingers crossed. Ollie had a brilliant season last year. He was the leading seamer for Warwickshire last year in the Championship. He took 44 wickets. Only Jeetan Patel took more wickets than Ollie in the Championship last year. He's taken nearly 200 first-class wickets, 65 one-day wickets, 75 in T20 cricket, a really successful T20 career to date. And he's also host of our famous Pod Blast, which takes place during the T20 Blast season. What a brilliant job he does on that. And secondly, but no means least, Chris Woakes, and it's fair to say that Chris is one of the world's most prominent all-rounders right now, as well as playing for Warwickshire over many years, obviously since he was a small boy at under 10s or 11s, I think. Woakesy, was it?
Yeah, that's right, mate. Under 12s, I think. I think I was a reserve in under 11s, mate. I didn't quite.
You're a reserve. We'll talk about who didn't select you later on, maybe. But also played for KKR and RCB in the IPL, as well as Sydney Thunder in the BBL. The record so far is stunning, really, as far as runs go. Nearly 6,000 first-class runs, over 1,000 test runs, 95 test wickets. So actually close to that 1,000-run, 100-wicket double, which I think a lot of all-rounders are very proud of. And 499 first-class wickets, apparently. Woakesy, did you know that?
I knew it was close, actually, but we had our first-class game in Sri Lanka recently, obviously, was called off halfway through, so we weren't sure if those wickets were going to count or not. So I knew I was close, but oh well, it'd be nice. Hopefully, it can get out this summer and
in 2020. So an amazing records for both guys, and I'm just going to hand over. Well, we'll say hello first of all. So we've got. Hopefully people should see Ollie now. Hello, Ollie.
Hello.
And hopefully people should see Woakesy now.
Hello, everyone.
There we go. So I'm gonna hand over to these boys. I hope you enjoy the next hour. I'll probably chip in with a few questions, lads, if that's all right, at some point.
Yeah. Cool.
But Ollie, what you got for us?
Well, thank you very much for that glowing introduction, Greethers. Notice you didn't mention my first-class runs. Thank you. But yeah, thanks for coming today, Woakesy. Thanks for everyone tuning in. Sorry it's not in happier circumstances, but I hope you're all staying safe and looking after yourselves and keeping as busy as you can at home and listening to mum and dad, obviously. First of all, we just got to dive straight in with Woakesy here. World Cup, mate. Okay. We'll leave the final for now, but my sort of resounding memories of watching the World Cup and thinking about the World Cup was really how well you bowled in the semi-final and the games leading up to the final. So I think there was a start. You in the game against India, you bowled 5 overs for 8 runs, and then in the semi-final, I remember it was at Edgbaston, wasn't it? You were, the Aussies were 3 for 10 or something like that. You ended up getting 3 for 20 runs. Ridiculous figures. As a team, you were clearly, favourites for the tournament, but the vein of form you were in that tournament, must have been amazing. So just talk us through, how it felt,
Yeah, I mean, mate, it's still kind of surreal looking back on it, really. To think we've been a part of a World Cup and a winning World Cup team in England is just, incredible and as I said, surreal. But I think the start of the tournament was always a little bit nervy. We were obviously classed as favourites, as you touched on there, and I suppose that brings that added pressure, and we kind of embraced it within the dressing room of being favourites, being number 1 in the world, and kind of being picked to win it before it even started was, we had to embrace it because it was just being mentioned everywhere. It was kind of being in every press conference, every media session. It was all about us winning it, involved of all. So we embraced that as a team, and kind of realised that we had an opportunity to produce what would have been an incredible thing to win a World Cup. But my own form at the start of the tournament wasn't particularly great. I remember the first couple of games I was like, about okay, but went around a little bit. And kind of as the tournament went on, I just picked up a bit of momentum really. Out of nowhere, had a good game against, I think it was the West Indies. And it's probably about the fourth game in, and then from then on in, I kind of just built that momentum all the way through to the final. And just to be a part of that team, not just for the World Cup, but for the whole process of the 4 years prior to it. It's kind of, that's the proudest thing for me, is obviously winning a World Cup's a great feeling, and obviously it stays with you forever. And I think it's the journey which makes it more special. You'll have been inside the similar sort of thing where you're together as a unit for a long period of time, and then when you succeed at the end of it, it makes it a lot more special. And that's it, really.
So you talk about being part of that side for the last 4 years. Was there chat in 2015 saying we're leading up to a World Cup here, lads? This is what we're building towards.
I was part of the 2015 World Cup team, who obviously when we went down under and got dealt with, it wasn't a great campaign by any means, and I think it helped being a part of that to then being able to move forward. I was lucky to obviously keep my place really after what had happened in that World Cup. Obviously a lot of players didn't, and I was fortunate to maintain my place and move forward in that team. But I think being a part of that's such a disaster, and being at rock bottom for ODI cricket for England kind of helped us move forward. I think from then on in, Trevor Bayliss came in as coach. Woakes kept the captaincy, but kind of had more of a say on what he wanted and how he saw the team moving forward. He obviously picked a lot of exciting, aggressive batsmen. Yeah. And from that point, I think there was a lot of talks about how we were going to move forward towards the 2019 World Cup. Even back then, in middle of 2015, 2016.
Very cool. And we've got to chat about the final, mate. You sort of talked with glowing terms about what it was like to be involved in. Just for someone half involved in cricket, that last summer, mate, was absolutely ridiculous. We were watching it in the changing rooms, I think at Essex after a day's play, and just sort of a tiny bit of a feel of what that must have been like for you was amazing. But obviously in the final, you again bowled brilliantly well. You're 3 for 37. You're the most economical bowler by far on the England side. How do you build up to a World Cup final? How do you do that?
Exactly. Looking back, I remember it being, because there was quite a big break for us between the last group game and the semi-final. Against the Aussies, and then the gap between the semi and the final was only a few days, and I remember that the build-up between those 2 days leading up to the Aussie game at Edgbaston, bit of a weird feeling for me, because obviously as an international cricketer, you're away from home, you're playing at away grounds all the time, even if it's in England. But that week I was at home. A lot of the guys were obviously in the hotel. Or the rest of the team was in the hotel, but for me, I was kind of still staying at home, driving into training, and it kind of had a bit of a strange feel to it. But I just felt that after the last group game, when we beat New Zealand and we'd also beat India the week before, we just built this sort of momentum that we were always going to win that semi-final against the Aussies. I just had a feeling, and I'm one, as of probably sitting on the fence a little bit, pretty safe. And I just knew going into that game we were going to win. I just had a really weird feeling. And we obviously produced the goods. We played really well. And then it almost felt like, in a way, we felt that was our final in a way, beating the Aussies in the semi. And we were obviously over the moon with the result, and we were in the change rooms and we were celebrating. And we weren't going over the top, but we were happy, as you can imagine. Yeah. And Trevor Bayliss sat us down and obviously gave his speech after the game. And he kind of just said, what did he say? His words were along the lines of, "This is why the Aussies laugh at the English so much," or something like that. And we were like a strange look in our face. He was like, "You haven't won anything yet." He said, "If you're happy winning the semi-final, then that's fine." He said, "But we want to go and win this thing, and if you don't, he said, no one will remember you anyway. So he said, it's up to you to go and win the final type thing. And it kind of just give everyone that kind of kick up the backside, think, you know what, actually we haven't done anything yet. You know, this is still we've still got to go and beat a very good side in New Zealand in the final. And saying, how did you build up for it? We tried to build up like you would for any other game, but you know, when you turn up at Lords and you know you're playing a World Cup final, obviously it's very nerve-wracking, and you know, we're all nervous. There's no doubt about that. But you just had to, once you know, for me, it's about getting that first ball out of the way, and then you're into a normal cricket game. But yeah, very, very nervous times leading into that final. Well,
actually, sorry, Ollie, can I chip in?
Yeah,
because as everybody knows, there's a bit of a Q&A going on here. So some of the viewers can sort of type in questions on the screen.
Okay.
And there's a couple of World Cup questions come in. So Libby Snowden from the girls' age group, she said, would you have liked to bowl the extra over, the super over, in the World Cup final? And I remember asking you about this a while ago, about the changing room and what decisions were made, and you know, once you tied the game, would you have liked to bowl it?
No, I mean, I'm happy to tell the truth on this. I was 100% not hoping I was getting the tap on the shoulder. It's a shame. I mean, it's pretty obvious that we're going to go with Jofra. Jofra's our best. You know, he's our fastest bowler. He's our most X-factor. He's probably our best death bowler. So it was always likely to be Jofra. But you know, you still obviously think. I mean, had Jofra not been in the team, I think I was probably next choice, or you know, next in line. So of course, at the time, I was a little bit nervous. I was thinking, you know, am I going to get the tap on the shoulder? But you know, as soon as I saw Woakes tap Jofra on the shoulder, I would have been lying if there wasn't a sigh of relief.
And where were you? What's the over was going on? Were you hiding a fine leg like I would be?
Yeah, so mate, I was at fine leg for every ball that he bowled to Jimmy Neesham, at fine leg on the fence, and then for the final ball, I was inside the circle at short fine leg.
Would that be short fine leg or short third man to Gupta?
No, I was still at short fine leg. I'd actually swapped over. I'd gone to short fine leg for the right hander for Gupta.
A wise place to be. I'd be hiding.
But then at the same time, whilst I was at fine leg for Neesham, I knew at some point Jofra was going to bang one in short, and I thought there's every chance he's going to top edge one straight up here, and it's coming straight down to me. So I was made sure I was switched on, as you can imagine.
Oh, brilliant. It's amazing. I mean, we all saw the World Cup, but to think that, you know, what was it, 6 weeks of cricket, 7 weeks, 8 weeks of cricket, all came down to literally one piece of fielding, you know, a regulation, pick up and throw.
That's right, mate.
Ridiculous. Absolutely.
I mean, to think that literally, like you say there, 7 weeks of cricket comes down to that. And I mean, I'm happy to say it, we effectively didn't win the game, did we? You know, we tied it twice, but I mean, the fact that that's come down to, in a World Cup final, that's happened. It just never. I mean, if that happens in any normal game of cricket, it's you know, it's one in a million. Let alone a World Cup final.
Yeah, obscene. I mean, I was on a coaching course not long ago, and they said, you know, if you were speaking to your players, saying an entire World Cup might come down to one piece of fielding, change the way you might do your fielding sessions, that sort of thing. It's ridiculous to think. Ridiculous. Yeah. I suppose, sort of rewinding a bit. Obviously, World Cup amazing, but you're a lifelong Bear mate. You like Greta said, I think you've been at the Bears since you were under 12. I don't know who left you out under 11s. Disgrace.
I can't remember who was in charge.
Wasn't me.
No, it might be Griffiths, was it? Was Ed McCabe and John? No, Johnny Griff was under 12s, wasn't he? I think. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember who was the 11s coach, to be honest, at the time.
Let's blame Ed McCabe, because he's probably one.
Yeah. Whoever they were.
Ed, it's your fault, mate.
Don't say whoever they were. But mate, talk us through that journey through the ranks. I mean, you won't believe it, guys, but me and Woakes are the exact same age. I've got a few more crow's feet than he does, but we're the same age. And I remember playing against you when I was going through the ranks at Yorkshire. Yeah. And obviously, you playing first-class cricket at such a tender age and doing so well. You know, I mean, you dominated at such a tender age. What do you think stood you in such good stead to, you know, perform so young? What going through the ranks at Warwickshire?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one, because I mean, even when you feel like you've done well, I still feel like there was times when I, you know, had my struggles, and kind of as a young lad growing up, or a young girl growing up, you kind of, I suppose everyone develops at different ages, and I think cricket's a big one for that. And I, as I said, I didn't get into the under-11s team, and to be honest with you, I probably shouldn't have done either. I wasn't by any means better than anyone else that had been selected. Yeah. I think it wasn't until I got to around about 13, 14, and I grew a little bit physically when I kind of started to excel a little bit more at my age group. And then around that age, I kind of, obviously did reasonably well for Warwickshire in the youth age groups and got selected for the academy. And I reckon once I started playing more with people older than me and more adult cricket, I reckon my game just went from strength to strength. Playing against people that were better than you, stronger than you, bowled faster than you, hit the ball harder than you, kind of made you grow as a cricketer. And some people it doesn't work that way, but that's the way I felt like I developed better, was by playing with better players in the academy, playing maybe a year or two above your own age group, and also playing adult cricket at a weekend. I think that's for me it was a huge learning curve.
Well, sorry, Ollie. Just chipping in. You played quite a bit of football as well as a lad, didn't you?
Yeah.
What part do you think football played in you? Looking back now, you wouldn't have known it at the time, but you were just playing because you love playing. But playing another sport, would that have been fairly important to you in terms of skills and fitness? And
is this where it starts wanging on about Aston Villa for the next 20 minutes?
Well, we're talking about sport.
We certainly won't be wanging on about them for that long. There's not a lot of positive stuff coming out of there at the minute. Did it play any? Whether it had any effect, I'm not too sure. I mean, I loved my football, still do love football. I had to make a relatively big decision around about the age of 14 to kind of, what route to try and take further. With schoolwork and everything else, I kind of felt that, I was effectively out every night of the week doing some form of training with one sport or the other. And around about that age, I was doing better with the academy at Warwickshire. I'd just got on the academy. And I decided to knock the football on the head with Walsall Football Club. And at the time, I didn't think anything. I knew in my own mind that it was the right decision. My dad and my mum backed me up. They were happy for me to do what made me happy, which obviously is really helpful. I look back on that and think, it's a really helpful decision from my parents. By no means were they pushing me in one direction or the other. So that was solely my decision. But football was great for me in terms of keeping me active from such a young age all the way through till I was about 14. It keeps you agile. You learn new skills, and I think that the most important thing for me with playing sport was kind of being in an environment with a team. As I touched on, being active, playing with a lot of mates and things like that. That was the reason I played sport. It's the reason why I played football. It's the reason why I played cricket. And kind of it just developed from there. So I'd like to say football helped my cricket as well. How exactly, it's hard to say, but I'd say it definitely did help.
Ollie, what was your? You went through the Yorkshire age groups, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did you have a very different upbringing? I think you broke in a bit later, didn't you?
Yeah, so I didn't get picked up by Yorkshire till I was about 15. Yeah, I was a lot later than Woakes. Certainly, I don't think I played cricket really until I was about 10 years old. Went down to my local club, picked up a lot later. And yeah, just randomly got asked by my school because I was the only guy at school who played cricket. It was a big football and rugby school. Just because I played cricket, I fancied going for a trial for Yorkshire, so I did, and then sort of just went from there. I got through a trial and then a final trial and ended up getting picked for Yorkshire under 15B team. And it just went from there really, and all of a sudden this opportunity. I'd never thought about playing cricket. I played cricket on a Saturday with men, just like Woakes said. I was that lad who played Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday down at the local club for every team I could, and then played Saturday, Sunday. Again, playing with men like Woakes said. And then all of a sudden this opportunity that I might be able to be a cricketer sort of came around. I was like, gosh, I need to sort of seize this, and that's how it happened for me really. But much like Woakes was saying there, I just played as many sports as I could growing up, whether that was tennis with my sister in the street, football at school, massive football area, West Yorkshire. I just tried to play as many sports as possible, but it was definitely, I was a crap footballer. I only ever played left back at local team. But
has height always been an advantage for you? I mean, when did you? I mean, obviously, for those people who don't know, Ollie, 6'8".
Yeah, bang on 6'8". Yeah.
So, was that always an advantage? When did you start getting that advantage as a player?
I won't say it was an advantage because I couldn't find any pants to fit. I was always tall. I don't know why. My dad's not especially tall. My mum's not overly tall. But yeah, I can always remember I was the tallest in class at anything. There's some quite comical photos flying around somewhere of me at school where I tower above everyone else. But yeah, I was just always tall, and it's sort of got its problems really. Because I remember, being early days in the academy, and there were lads who could do stuff in the field that I just couldn't do, and I just hadn't grown into my body yet. Probably still haven't grown into my body a little bit. When you see me in Woakes field, and it's quite different. But yeah, I was always tall, so just had to sort of deal with that the best way I could.
Just to tell everybody at home, we are getting all your questions, so keep the questions coming in. We were sent some questions in advance as well, so when Ollie's and Woakes has finished their little chat, we're going to get through as many questions as we can. Ollie, sorry, back over to you.
Sorry, I was going to ask Woakes. I mean, this is sort of me speaking as a genuine, probably all-round bowler. Like I said, Greethers didn't mention my batting stats at all. Thanks, Greethers. Do you think being a genuine all-rounder has stood you in good stead, both as a youth cricketer and then sort of growing up into national setup?
Yeah, I do, mate. Yeah, I think ever since I was, as we touched on, coming through the youth setup, my batting was always, was never as good as my bowling, but I kind of tried to take it as serious as I could and tried to score as many runs as I could. But I think it was always something which kind of keeps you involved with the game, and it was kind of one of those things that I thought I had enough potential with the bat that if I worked hard at it, I could become half decent at it. So it was always an area of my game which I tried to focus on and tried to enjoy as well. By no means did I still thought bowling was my way in, and I classed myself as a bowler primarily. But I think batting was kind of, I tried to use it as just an extra thing to have under my wing type thing. Particularly when squads were being picked and stuff, I felt like if I could bowl as well as I could and then still manage to do okay with the bat, even if it was down the order, it could potentially sway me, get me into a team or into a squad, or whereas I played with some guys that literally just focused on the bowling, and they could bat a bit, but they weren't too fussed. But yeah, I certainly kind of went down the route and felt that having that option, particularly maybe more when you get towards the professional game, that it has definitely helped me kind of being in and around squads and maybe get me the odd selection when maybe they could have gone with the extra quick bowler, but the fact that I could bat a bit, has held me in good stead and got me picked a few times. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, you're talking to someone who, like I say, I'm not saying I don't work hard on my batting or my fielding, because I think fielding's probably fall into a similar bracket, but if you're a selector, if you're Greethers and you're going to pick me or Chris Woakes, because Woakes, he bats and fields as well as he does as well, there's no contest there. So that's a good lesson for any young cricketer. And it goes the other way as well. Someone like, let's say, Joe Root, obviously one of the best batters we've got, but he bowls a little as well.
Exactly. Yeah,
gets you into teams, doesn't it? Not been neglecting.
Yeah, the amount of batters that kind of we see it day in day out in the professional game that kind of have their bat and then go and sit on the sides and stuff, and then you got other guys like you touched on there, maybe Rooty or whatever, who know they're not great bowlers but can produce something, and actually the more you do it and the more you practice it, actually you find yourself actually having a role. I think that's where Rooty started. You can probably talk more about that, but you obviously knowing going through at Yorkshire as well, he was never really a great off spinner, and now he's taking test wickets pretty regularly now. So it just shows if you work at things, eventually they come to fruition, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, you're going to have your strengths, but there's absolutely no reason you can't be working at whether that be bowling, whether that be batting, whether that be fielding. Yeah. You can make yourself a better cricketer all around, can't
you?
Yeah. Okay, so we talked about the World Cup. Literally ridiculous World Cup final. A month later, let's have a ridiculous Ashes series as well. Talk us through that.
Right.
The end of the World Cup and the start of the Ashes, how long was that? What was the time frame?
Well, believe it or not, we won the World Cup on the Sunday, I believe, 14th of July. And we had a Ashes camp starting on the Friday at St George's Park for the Ashes squad type thing, to get together, kind of go through their batters, get together, have a bit of a team building thing. And as you can imagine, the guys that are playing the World Cup were just shot, absolutely mentally and physically knackered. And anyway, it was supposed to be a 3-day camp, I think, and they cut it to literally a day and a half, which was the right decision, because, you know, majority of the guys were cooked. And there's only a few of us, a handful of us, myself, Johnny, Bairstow, and Moeen Ali, that went on to play that Ireland Test match, which was in between the Ashes and the World Cup. And I think it was about 8 or 9 days after the World Cup final. We were back at Lord's starting a Test match against Ireland, and we got bowled
on a green nibbler, and Tim
Murtagh was just hitting us all on the shin. And I got naught, and I just thought, wow, literally hero to zero in the space of 7 or 8 days. I was like, this is a disaster, absolute disaster. But it was a quick turnaround, mate. It really was. And
but don't do yourself a disservice. Didn't you end up getting 5 for a 6 for in the second innings there?
I did, mate. Actually, to be honest, I'll tell the truth. It was literally the first 3 games of that game, of that Test match, probably the worst days of my life, because I got naught in the first innings. I got no wickets in the first innings, and we got bowled out for, I think it was 90, wasn't it, or something stupid like that. I got no wickets in the first innings, and then I nicked off for about 10 in our second innings, and I was thinking, this is a disaster. And then took 6 for 18 or something around those figures on day 4 when it was moving around, going sideways. But yeah, that week was going from bad to worse until we managed to bowl them out for, I think it was 50 in the end. I think we bowled them out for something stupid. But
there was a big Warwickshire contingent there, wasn't there? Talking you, Boyd, Heard, Marker.
That's right.
Ollie still made his debut that day.
Ollie still made his debut. Moeen Ali, obviously ex-Bear. Yeah. So there were plenty of Bears on show on that day. It was actually quite good. It was weird actually playing against those boys as well. Yeah. I've played against Purdy a couple of times before, but never played against Boyd. Obviously played with boys for years, as have you. Obviously Mark Adair as well. So yeah, it was a bit strange, but obviously it was good that we came on top. It would have been a bit of a disaster if we'd lost that game.
I can imagine going from World Cup final to Test match within a week is a pretty hard thing to do. So,
Ollie, can I just chip in?
Yeah.
Because there's been over 100 people tuned into this, and so, you know, you mentioned there so many Bears being in a Test match. There was quite a bit made of it at the time, actually, about 6 or 7 or however many people. It's quite a special club, isn't it? Really, in terms of the camaraderie, what the Bear means. Just that there's a feel about the place that, you know, and everybody watching this will have represented or about to hopefully represent Warwickshire. How do you both sum up what it is to be playing for Warwickshire and being a Bear?
Go on. What do you want to do? Me?
Yeah, no, I don't mind going. Yeah, I mean, look, you probably got 2 different answers to it, actually, with Ollie obviously starting his career at Yorkshire, and then obviously coming to Warwickshire at a different time. But, you know, for me, it's all I've known. You know, I went to watch Warwickshire when I was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and it was kind of always my dream just to play at Edgbaston, was just to play at Edgbaston once. That's all I wanted to do, was to walk onto the turf at Edgbaston. Didn't matter who it was going to be for, but I just wanted to play at Edgbaston. And I think once, you know, it didn't really come a reality until I probably got into the academy and had a couple of years on the academy and kind of thought, you know, actually I could do this. And I suppose the fact that all I've ever known is the Bear and Ragged staff on my jumper or my shirt, kind of means that, you know, to be honest, I never really want to play anywhere else. And, you know, with being a local lad as well, you know, obviously all my family have followed Warwickshire for years. So that kind of, it makes me proud that, you know, my family are all Warwickshire people as well. For me to then go on and represent Warwickshire, and, you know, for me, you know, having played for England for a fair few years now, it doesn't take the gloss off playing for Warwickshire at all. You know, I going back, and whenever we get the opportunity to put on the shirt, it's a really, really special feeling. And it's nice to know that there's people at the club, whether they're on the front gate, they're on reception, or we all feel part of something special and a family at the club, as I'm sure Greethers, as well, being a coach, predominantly with the development side of things. Definitely feel kind of one big family, and for me that's what playing for Warwickshire really means. I just love being able to do it and make Warwickshire proud, make the Bear proud, but also make my family proud, really. Yeah,
so you mentioned a lot about people there, haven't you? The community of what it means. Yeah, Ollie?
Yeah, like you mentioned, a bit different. So obviously we've talked about Woakes' career, where he's, ridiculous career so far. I started Yorkshire Academy, which is a fantastic club. Certainly a bit of a different feel to it than Warwickshire, but they taught me some unbelievable lessons I still sort of use on a day-to-day basis. Shaped me as a human being as well as a cricketer. But I had a real tough time around 2011-12. Just couldn't really bowl. Lost form massively. Got told I could leave Yorkshire, and sort of spoke to a few counties, but no one was really that interested. And it was Pop Welsh at Warwickshire who said come down and do some training sessions, and it went from there really. And I sort of loved the place immediately. Thought I would love to come play here, and just the fact that the club took a chance on me when no one else would, just it's so special. And I owe the club, I owe Pop a hell of a lot for just taking a chance on me when no one else was interested. And like Woakes has mentioned, the Bear and Ragged staff, that is all encapsulated, in that badge. The fact that this place and these people made me feel so welcome and took a chance when literally no one else was interested. It's really, really special. And if I can repay that in any way with runs, wickets, or a bit of coaching, I owe that to the club. The fact that they took a chance on me when no one else really would. But like Woakes said, it's a special place, whether you're an under 10 or a test player like Woakes. We all wear the same Bear and Ragged staff, and it's a special club to be in. I mean, we all get given numbers. When you make your first class debut for Warwickshire, you get given a cap. You get given a cap with a number on. I don't know if you can see the mine's 509. I think we're up to like 530 now. And I'm a bit of a badger. I did some badgering. More people have been to space than have played first class cricket for Warwickshire. There's something like 600 people been to space. So if you end up playing first class cricket,
that is a good stat.
You're rarer than a spaceman. So it's special. that goes all the way through. All the way through. To get included in any sort of Warwickshire squad, boys, girls, under 10s, first team, is a special thing, and it's taken a lot of hard work to even get there. So just to be able to pull on the Bear and Ragged staff is something to be incredibly proud of.
Ollie, you got anything else to bring up with Woakesy? I think we've got loads of questions, but is anything finally before we start these questions?
I mean, we've talked about what you think stood you in good stead. I mean, I was gonna bring up Headingley. I like to say ridiculous World Cup match, and then you're at Headingley. Where are you sat for that? What are you doing for that?
We've actually got Woakesy. We had a question actually on that. Let me just find it 1 second. When Stokesy went out to, this is anonymous, I don't know who's asked this. When Stokesy went out to bat in the situation he was in at Headingley, did you genuinely believe he could do it?
Well, I'm just trying to think when he went out to bat. When he went out to bat,
the day before.
Say again, sorry.
It was the day before, wasn't it?
So he went out to bat the day before.
Fogged it at the end of the day, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, at that point, obviously, I reckon we're still thinking. I mean, him and Joe Root were at the crease, weren't they? So I was thinking, both these get 100, we can still chase this down. But I suppose you're still thinking it's fourth innings of a game. Chasing the score is never easy. But having bowled on the wicket, it was like, this is still a good pitch. We in the dressing room, we're like, we can chase this. We just need our majority of our best players facing the majority of the balls, and we've got a good chance of getting there. But then I suppose the next morning or the next day, when we start losing poles, and I mean, I went out. I can't remember what I got that day. I didn't get much. I think I might have even got 4 or 5 or something. And then get out, and it's like, once we're getting towards the tail, I think some really, really special has got to happen here. You kind of think, it's 95%, if not more, in the favour of the Aussies. And to be honest, it wasn't until really we got down to maybe 20 runs needed. Is it roughly around about there? You start thinking we can actually win this. And I mean, to put it into perspective and context is to see a player play like that. And the only way I can put it to the people watching is to keep an over out from someone like Pat Cummins or Josh Hazelwood or these guys, the best bowlers in the world, is difficult enough. It's difficult enough to block one, let alone being able to just hit it wherever you want out of the park over the fielder's heads for 6. It's bizarre. And I remember a Q&A with Ruti and a few others not that long ago, and there was obviously talk about the Ashes, and he said, they asked Ruti a question about at what point did you think we could win it? And Ruti was kind of like, well, I felt whilst Ben was at the crease, we could always win it type thing. But he said the moment that he really knew that we had a chance of winning was when I think it might have been the reverse sweep off line for 6. And Josh Butler's face, Ruti was sat next to Josh Butler, and Josh Butler was just like absolutely gobsmacked. And he said at that point, he knew that if the best one-day player in the world in Josh Butler is can't believe what he's seeing out in the middle, he said something special was happening. And it was at that point he kind of said that he knew that Ben was going to obviously do something special, but by no point anyone watching that game could have thought we were going to win it up until probably maybe needing 20-25 to win. It's incredible what he did that day. I don't think we'll be beaten ever again.
Can I just ask both of you if you've seen the test on Amazon yet, which is
half of it.
I must recommend it to anybody watching, if only to watch the episode where the Aussies, the camera's in the Aussie changing room during that innings. And there's a brilliant, I don't know if you've seen it, Justin Langer kicks the bin in his frustration.
I've seen a little clip of that. I've seen a little clip of it.
And he individually picks up every bit of trash out of the bin. Politely, but it's worth it just to watch that episode.
During that innings, we were playing a T20 Woakes, so you would know this. Yeah. We battered and we'd just gone out to field, and during the little break, 20 minutes I think you get in between the T20, it was like, gosh, it's kicking off here. Stokes could do this. Stokes could do it. So we had to go out on field, and we'd gone out, and I can't remember who we were playing. The ground was absolutely empty, and everyone was around the outside in the bars. So we're running to ball at the start of the T20 where it's meant to be kicking off. Absolutely dead. And just kept doing these cheers in the bars. Like, why aren't we watching this? We're stood out in the middle of the field. Nobody cares about what's going on here.
Put it on hold.
Yeah, what's this? I need to ask you one question as well. You tweeted last night.
Yeah.
Sky Sports repeated the World Cup final last winning moment.
That's right.
And how good's this? Have you watched it back yet? The World Cup final?
I've watched back the highlights. I haven't watched it back ball by ball, and there's still to this moment now. I was watching it last night. I put it on my Instagram story, and that final over and the lead up to the final over just gets me every time. I still get nervous and anxious now watching it. I get sweaty and horrible. It's weird, mate. Honestly,
I think the tweet from Sky was I think from 8 a.m. this Sunday, they're showing the entire day out there.
That's right. Yeah, Easter Sunday, I think it is.
Yeah, Easter Sunday. They're going to show it from the moment it started. Right. Everyone watch that. Ridiculous. Oh, right. Shall we get into some questions from that have been sent in?
Definitely, yeah. Because we'll probably go for another 20 minutes or so. So I reckon we'll try and get through as many questions as we can. That have either been sent in during the last hour, or you've got some in advance, Ollie, I think, haven't you? Yeah,
so I'll start with one that's been sent off in advance from Jacob Gregory and Oliver Hitton. During this lockdown period, what are you doing to keep fit? What are you doing?
So, I mean, originally, I was going to come back from Sri Lanka, the test tour, which we were due to get back in a couple of days' time. And I was going to have a little bit of a downtime, bit of a break, have about a month off. So obviously coming back a little bit early, and being back a couple of weeks now, I've only just about started getting back into some training. I went for a couple of runs last week just to blow away some cobwebs. Did my first garage gym session this morning. So yeah, I actually haven't done a huge amount, but I intend to slowly pick it back up now and try and follow a bit of a program. But it's a bit tricky. I think to find the motivation to do your gym sessions in your garage, and in your back garden are a little bit different to obviously going into Edgbaston and using the great gym facilities and stuff like that. But we've got to do it, and in this tough period, I suppose we've just got to find ways to keep busy. It's we've got to look after our loved ones, obviously, most and foremost, but just look after yourselves and try and keep healthy, I think, is the most important thing.
Yes, and especially for young cricketers out there, at some stage, hopefully the season is going to start, and we all know how injuries can affect young cricketers. So any sort of training you can do during this period. I mean, I've seen some brilliant videos this week of you all doing the belly cover drive challenge. They were all unbelievable. So any sort of cricket you can do like that, whether it's bowling to a wall with a tennis ball or tiny bit of batting. We've been given programs by Warwickshire, obviously. Still, there's a brilliant. They've got a bear. It's called Bears S&C, and it's a YouTube channel where Jack Murphy and Ryan Taylor, Chrissy Cole, these people put up great videos of the work we're doing at home. So for everyone watching, if you search Bears S&C on YouTube, there's loads of great videos on there on what literally we're doing. I think we do 3 strength sessions in your garden a week and 2 running sessions. They're really good. So anyone watching, Bears S&C on YouTube is very good to see sort of what we're doing at the moment.
I'll send the link out again, Al.
Yeah, make sure Greetha sends that. So obviously played for England, played for Warwickshire. Talk us through these experiences. I mean, we've got a question from Yusuf Patel here. What's it like playing for Royal Challengers Bangalore with the likes of Cole, AB de Villiers? And I suppose playing the Big Bash as well goes hand in hand with that. How do they compare?
Yeah, I mean, IPL is an incredible tournament. I mean, incredible spectacle as well. I think the big thing for me playing in that tournament was I was surprised at how I'm just trying to think of the right word to use. Because I think sometimes you look at the IPL and you think it's all like, glitz and glamour, and you hear about all it's all these parties that go on and things like that. But actually, I was surprised at how genuinely professional and how big the tournament was from like a professional point of view. I think, guys go there and obviously earn good amounts of money and things like that. But I think the majority, I'd say 99% of the players want to win, which, sometimes you find in franchise tournaments. I think, they don't probably take it quite as serious. But I tell you what, it was seriously intense cricket. And I found that, playing with the likes of Virat Kohli, who, doesn't like to lose any game of cricket, having him as captain was, really interesting, I think, to see some things from the other side of the fence. Obviously, when you play against him, he can, he gets in your grill a little bit. He's quite aggressive. He's a world-class player. But to have him on your side, I think just showed a little bit of a different side. He's a lovely guy. A great person to have on your team. I think he's one of those. When you hear guys, great guy to have on your team. Yeah. He's certainly one of those. That is for sure. But to play with those lots of players, it was incredible, and I'm really pleased that I've been able to do it. And it's an experience playing in India. It really is. I mean, their passion for cricket is incredible. I mean, you've had a great experience in Nepal, haven't you, playing for the MCC? I mean, those fans out there, they're exactly the same as the Indian fans. They literally live, eat and breathe cricket, and it's a breath of fresh air. It really is nice to be playing with fans that are so passionate about it.
Yeah, it's literally a religion, isn't it? I mean, we're very lucky. We play cricket all over, and sometimes you can go to a pre-season tour. You can go to Abu Dhabi, and there's no one in the ground, and it's not really a cricket playing country.
Yeah,
we had a very short tour this year to Spain, to La Manga before this happened, and you're not in a cricket playing country. No one really cares. Yeah. To go to a country where that is religious, they love anything to do with cricket. Is like you say, it's a breath of fresh air, and it's lovely. It's great anyway.
Well, so just staying on IPL, we got a question through on the feed here. Is Virat Kohli nice in person, or is he as intense as he comes across on screen?
No, as I just said, honestly, he's almost the complete opposite. He's a really, really nice guy off the field. I mean, for someone like him who's got ridiculous amount of commitments in India, obviously with endorsements. You know, he's got a Bollywood actress as a wife who, you know, obviously gets followed around as well. You know, they are like king and queen of the country almost. You know, and to think he's, you know, he can give anyone, you know, obviously within reason, his time of day, he's actually quite, you know, quite special, because he's a very busy man. Obviously, he works hard at his cricket as well. But genuinely, he was a really nice guy, both on and off the field. You know, obviously you can, you know, you come up against him and you see him intense on the camera, but he's just passionate about winning for India, which, you know, you have to respect as well. You know, and he's a world-class player, that is for sure. You know, whenever you come up against him, you know, you've got a battle on your hands. So, no, I'd say he's the complete opposite to what you see on camera. He's actually a really nice bloke.
Cool. I've got a question here, Woakes, from Pierce Ryan, asking how do you add pace when you bowl? And I think it's probably safe to say when I talked about you doing really well in first class cricket when you were young, you know, 18, 19, you were probably about 10 miles an hour slower than you are now. And, you know, bowling quicker and being accurate and still moving it is something we all want to do. If I could be 10 miles an hour quicker, I would bite your hand off to do that. So, you know, adding the pace you have over your career, how have you done that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a tricky one. It didn't happen overnight. It was one of those things which I, you know, really had to work hard at for quite a long period of time. As you touched on, I had some good success early in my career for Warwickshire, and then kind of had a little bit of a taste of international cricket quite early, and just realised what I was doing wasn't really going to, you know, hack it at the highest level, or not for a sustained period of time. So yeah, I had to try and put some pace on, and you know, there was a few things which I tried to tinker with. Firstly, I tried to tinker with my front arm. You know, by no means did I use my front arm at all. I reckon it was almost redundant, to be honest. So my front arm was kind of, the best way I didn't show it on camera, was kind of quite low and went out quite long, and then tried to change it and just get higher and higher and higher. And I think what I worked hard with Pop Welsh, as you touched on, who's a great bowling coach at Warwickshire, was actually getting my elbow higher rather than just my arm. Because I found like I was getting my arm higher, but there was just it was still quite long, and it wasn't really giving me any benefits at the crease. So yeah, I tried to work on getting my elbow higher and snapping it through, to really utilise that front side a lot more. Naturally worked harder in the gym on a few things, got some things a bit stronger, you know, particularly around the trunk, and my legs. You know, still as a young age, you know, sometimes it's hard to know what you're doing in the gyms. I think that's where you have to rely on your coaches, your S&C coaches, to really, you know, stick to your programs and work hard at them. And I think, just quickly looking back at my early days, I didn't probably trust some coaches as much as I should have done. In particular, Kevin Shine at Loughborough, who you know, I rate really highly and have worked really close with him over the years. I think when I was a bit younger and a bit naive, I didn't quite trust the process enough, and wanted results straight away. And obviously, as you get older and you get a bit more wise and things, you kind of realise things take a little bit longer. So I think what I would say is that, you know, find something which potentially might work and just really give it a chance to bed in. Along with, you know, one thing that worked for me was increasing my pace in my run up. I was very laboured, you know, it was quite slow, and I just injected a bit of pace into my run up, which tended to help me. But as I said, it wasn't something which worked overnight. I did a lot of drills. I worked hard at it for a long period of time, and then finally managed to see some good results.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember it's a package, isn't it? You have put on pace, but you can still move the ball. You're still accurate. You still get bounce. You don't want to go for pace and then lose all the good things you do as well.
And that's exactly what I did. I reckon when I first kind of put on a little yard of pace, you know, I lost my control. I lost a few skills, and kind of felt like I'd gone backwards. So obviously the whole, like you say, the whole package is that you can still do what you do at a slower pace, at that higher pace. But you know, it's something which you do have to work hard at, and you know, it's a bit tricky. But I think if you stick to the process and work hard at your skills, you will get there in the end. Trust it.
Yeah, like I say, I'd I'd love 10 miles an hour if I could get it. Wow. Good question from Oscar and Louis. I don't remember. I was going to tell a story there. There was one rain day once we were playing on telly, and we kept going off for rain. And they played the replay of the T20 final that we won in 2014.
Yeah.
At the very end of that game, I got Flintoff hit me for a couple of sixes. They just missed me Yorker. And
one of the great games, mate. One of the great games.
Good game. But I was saying that's not that far for Yorker. And the next over, you did the same.
Yeah.
You bowled the ball and just missed your York, and it went for one. I see, Woakes, that was the exact same ball, and you went, yeah, 10 miles an hour quicker though, mate, wasn't it? Which is true. It is true. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Really good question here from Oscar and Louis Reynolds. The morning of a game, what's your routine? What do you do?
Good question. To be honest, well, I suppose it's in the question, but I try to keep it as simple and try and stick to the routine as much as possible. So basically, I get to a game or get to the ground. And this has changed over the years, by the way. It certainly isn't the same now as what it was 10 years ago. But I kind of get to the ground now. I'll take it easy for a little while. Set up my kit, get my kit in the right spaces, get my boots on. Probably see the physio for some strapping. If that's required, generally, and I know you do this as well, Ollie, is strap our toes, strap your toes so they don't get cut to bits. Potentially strap my ankle with the physio, and then strap the boots on and get out there for a bit of a trundle and a bit of a loosener. But I always try and, a lot of guys like to, and I think you might be in this bracket, Ollie, like to bowl. Before like the team time, before warm-ups. I think that's changed for me over the years. Now I like to make sure I go out and get a bit loose, kind of get a bit warmer, and do my stretches with the team and stuff, and get that warm-up out the way before I bowl. It's not right or wrong, but that's just what works for me now. I find the less bowling I do before a game kind of gets me ready. So yeah, it's a pretty simple routine. If we turn up to the ground and it's a batting day, I'll get to the ground, again, make sure my stuff's in the right stuff, get the training kit on, get my kit on, and go and have a quick hit in the nets before the day starts. So yeah, it's pretty simple, but it's what works for me. And as I said, there's no right or wrong. What Ollie does is probably slightly different and works for him. So just find out what works for you and stick to it.
And does that change formats? Let's say test match at T20, does it change up a bit?
Yeah, kind of. Obviously, turning up at a T20 or a one day, or regardless, I'd go for a bat. Just make sure I get a bat in before team time, just so that we can, well, for me personally, just to know that I've had a hit and I've kind of got my eye in a little bit, rather than being called upon in the game and being a bit behind the eight ball type thing. But from a bowling point of view, I just run through my skills really with the white ball, make sure that I bowled a few Yorkers, bowled a few slow balls, bowled a few with the new ball, just so to cover all bases and make sure that's covered before going out into the carnage.
Yeah.
Right, Ollie and Woakesy, we're going to put a bit of a time limit on the answers now, so we're going to get through some questions. So
apologies.
No, mate. No, I'm not saying you're too long, mate. It's just we'll be here till 8 o'clock with the questions, I reckon. So yeah, we'll keep it brief in the next few. Let's try and rattle through as many as we can.
All right. Okay. How'd you go about getting out of bad form, Walker?
Bad form. So to be honest, I think the best way of getting out of bad form is not. It's easier said than done, but not panicking. A lot of people, particularly batsmen in particular, would go out there and hit more balls and more balls and more balls and more balls. But sometimes, if you're in bad form, a lot of the time it can be because of a bit of a technical glitch, or the other thing is that you're just having a bit of bad luck. So going and hitting more balls sometimes can make the problem worse. For me personally, it's about sticking to the process, as I've touched on before. You know what works for you. Stick to your strengths. If you're getting out in a certain way, try and put that shot away potentially. And then with the ball, just try and focus on what is very simple: straight lines, bowl at the top of off stump, almost forget that the batsman's there, and just focus on hitting your length and your line as much as possible. Straight lines as a bowler, that's what it's all about.
I know, Pete, speaking from experience, sometimes when I've been in bad form, you can sort of go straight to technical, can't you? And certainly when I talked about that period where I was in terrible form, you know, I was thinking technical, and every time I bowled badly, I'd try to change something else. And before I knew it, I wasn't running in like Oliver Hannon-Dalby.
Yeah,
I would just, try to reinvent myself every time. Like you said, then it's worth remembering what you do well, as an individual, what you do really well.
Yeah.
Who's the most you've played against?
Who was what song? You was cracked up there.
Who's the most difficult batter you've played against?
Difficult batter. So I jotted a few down before I came on air here because I thought don't want to be put on the spot.
I'm going to remind you, Woakes, that you've bowled against me here. So
yeah, mate. I'll never forget you saving the game at Taunton, mate. That's one of the best things I've ever seen ever. So toughest batters. I mean, I've got a list here. And none of them would surprise you that they're there. Hashim Amla was one of the hardest I've ever bowled at. Ricky Ponting was probably the most intimidating in a way to bowl at because you just felt like he was going to whack every ball. Mike Hussey was a great player. Amy de Villiers in the white ball game, world's best. Virat Kohli. But two that really stand out for me have been the hardest two guys I've bowled at. Is mainly because of how awkward they are. So Steve Smith, we all know how good he is, and his record's ridiculous. But what makes him so good is that he's obviously doesn't. He scores a lot of runs. He doesn't miss the ball too often, but he's very unique in what he does, and he sticks to his technique. And someone who as well is Shiv Chandapal. Both very awkward players, and the fact that they're they're obviously very good players, but the fact that they're so unique and you don't come up against guys like that too often makes it harder to bowl at them.
Here's one for both of you. Got one for both of you. Very quick answers. Ben Blakemore asks, you can only have one, World Cup or Ashes win?
So I was asked this before the World Cup, and I said World Cup for me this year. I went World Cup.
Ollie?
He's won both of them. He's won both.
Ollie, you can only have one.
You can ask that. Go on. Second team trophy win, or I'd take Ashes.
Yeah,
Ashes.
I understand that. That's fair.
Ollie, your turn.
For what? For asking a question?
Yeah.
What's scariest moment on a cricket pitch, Walker?
Apart from the World Cup final super over, I would say most scariest moment on the cricket field was in my first year or second year as a professional. I played a T20 quarter final at Edgbaston. Against Kent, and I bowled 3 really good overs, but then the next 3 I came on in the 19th over to finish off and bowled 2 beamers and was taken off. And I think at that point because I wanted the ground to just swallow me up and take me away, I'd say that is the most scariest I've ever been on a cricket.
For me, it's got to be facing anyone with real pace. I've faced Fidel Edwards a few times this year. I know he came and played for the Bears for the T20.
Yeah.
Facing anyone like that, it was rapid. It is absolutely terrifying.
I mean, let's face it, facing fast bowling is not nice.
And especially, cricket's weird, isn't it? You can be a rubbish batter, you can be the worst batter in the world and have to face great bowlers.
Yeah, the world's best, yeah.
You don't, it's like Lionel Messi going in net for 10 minutes every game and he's a terrible goalkeeper. It just doesn't happen, does it? And everyone laughing at him, going, he's rubbish in there. It's here a lot, mate.
One from the feed to both of you. Did you want or think you'd play for England when you were younger? If not, what job would you think you would have?
Oh God.
I'll go first. I would still love to play for England. I mean, that is the pinnacle, isn't it? I'm a very lucky boy. I've played for professional cricket for 10 years, but to play for England and say you've been in the. I mean, I talked about Warwickshire being an elite club. To be a Test cricketer, to be an international cricketer, wow, that is seriously elite. So, yeah, to do that is unbelievably special. If I hadn't been a cricketer, I think I'd have probably gone to university and studied product design, and I think I'd be some sort of teacher, technology teacher, something like that.
Oh, nice. I can see you doing that, actually. You'd be very good at that.
Cheers, mate.
Be good at that. I forgot what the question was now.
So
what's it like playing?
This is Shreyan from the under-10s. He says, did you think you were going to play for England when you were younger or wanted to? And if not, what job would you have?
No, I mean, so when I was younger, no, I didn't think I was going to play for England. It wasn't until probably I was 19, 20 when I started doing well for Warwickshire. I probably thought, you know what, I could, you know, why not? Why can't I play for England type thing? But by no means as a young lad was I thinking about playing for England. That, you know, it was beyond my wildest dreams. And if I didn't become a cricketer, similarly in terms of I'd have gone to university hopefully and had a bit of a good time, as you all did, Greeters, I'm sure. Yeah, and I don't know what I'd done. I've done something in sport. I definitely stayed in sport. Sport's been my life. So, you know, maybe a PE teacher or I'd studied some form of sports coaching type thing.
Thanks for assuming that I went to university, Woakesy. That's very kind of you. I did, yes. But
Yeah,
thanks for assuming that. I'm glad that comes across. And I was just going to say, you went to Barbican, didn't you, Woakesy?
Yeah,
which I think is in the last 10 years the most successful cricket school in Birmingham or Warwickshire, because we've had loads of people from Barbican.
Oh, what you mean? You mean in Chris Woakes you've had Aaron Thomason,
but there's a couple of lads on our pathway as well at Barbican.
Okay,
must be doing something special there.
Or if they're listening, Barbican massive.
Anonymous question: what's the best piece of advice you could give to someone like me that wants to become a professional cricketer? Best piece of advice.
Has all got that, Woakesy?
Go Woakesy.
Go Woakesy. Best bit of advice to who wants to be a professional cricketer. What to say? I'd say. I mean, how old is this lad or this girl?
It's anonymous. It says.
Okay. Yeah, it's tricky. I think, you know, the best advice to be a professional cricketer is probably don't think about too much. You know, especially at a younger age. You know, I didn't start thinking about becoming a professional till I was 16. Don't get me wrong, I was driven and I wanted to play cricket to the best standard I could. The best advice I could give would be to be as good as you can, day in, day out when you go and play cricket. You know, still play it with a smile on your face, have fun with your friends, but every time you get the opportunity to impress, give yourself the best chance to impress. And, you know, not just to impress others, but to do it for yourself, to be the best that you can be every time you play. And that will give you the best chance and best opportunity to perform well and then have the best chance of becoming a professional.
I think that advice about overthinking is really important, isn't it? You've got to want to play for the sake of playing, rather than trying to, you know, play to climb the ladder. I think that's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Ollie, anything to add? He's freezing.
No, I agree with that. I mean, saying I want to be a professional. Have you got me?
Yeah, I think you're freezing a little bit, but
I was just going to say, you know, being a professional cricketer is this big goal. You know, way up there, like what you said. Think about what's in front of you right now in that game, in that individual training session. How can you be the best you can be there? And obviously, I mean, importantly, right now, probably as well, get your school work done first. But then after that, if you can get your schoolwork, homework done, just playing as much as you possibly can, like getting down to the local club, you know, as much as you possibly can, even if it's at the moment the only cricket you might be able to get at home, on your driveway, just any sort of game, facing up spin, getting some spin mats down, you know, bowling in different conditions, stuff like that, just playing as much as you possibly can, will definitely stand you in good stead.
This is a brilliant question here from.
You got me?
Actually, I've got you. Yeah. Brilliant question from Iman Akbar. Now, this was the young lady that won the cover drive competition for the girls, so she gets a question. But a really good question. As a bowler, how do you clear your mind if you've just been hit for 4 or 6? How do you clear your mind when you walk back to your mark? I think that's a really good question. Do you use any sort of strategy to sort of get onto the next ball?
Do you want to go on, or do you want me to go?
I was gonna say I think it depends. You know, if you have executed the exact ball you wanted to bowl and you've bowled the best ball, you know, whatever the format. If you think right, I'm going to bowl my best top of off delivery and you've executed it, and someone plays a ridiculous shot, you've sometimes got to say, well done, that's a great shot. And that's the same if it's a bouncer, if it's a Yorker, if it's a slow ball. If you've done what you want to do, and batters are allowed to hit good shots, if they do that, then you've got to say, well done. If you've tried to execute a skill and got it wrong, then you've obviously got to reset and say, okay, didn't get that quite right there. Why didn't I get it right? Okay, it's gone. Back on my mark. What am I doing this ball? And go again, type thing. So I just thought I'd get used to reviewing each ball and saying, why did it go for 4? Or, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'd agree with what Ollie said there. I think it's exactly that. It's also it's what you're trying to bowl in that specific moment. I think if you stick to what you want to bowl and you haven't changed your mind halfway through your run up or something like that, and you've executed it well and it's still gone for 4 or 6, or it hasn't quite worked out the way you'd like it to, I think it's just being able to know deep down, being honest with yourself whether you've produced the right delivery for what you wanted to bowl. That's the most important thing for me, is be honest with yourself, give yourself honest feedback, and when you're at the end of your mark, make sure you know and you're clear what you want to bowl the next ball and where you want to put it. And if you commit to it 100%, you can't be hard on yourself.
Right, quick answers now. We just need names from both of you.
Okay.
Which was the cricketer that inspired you most growing up, and who's been the most influential coach? So 2 names. Inspiration as a kid, growing up, as a player, and coach.
Inspirational player and coach.
Yeah.
Coach for me would be Steve Perryman, the old bowling coach of Warwickshire.
Yeah.
And the inspirational player would be Darren Gough.
There we go.
For me, player growing up, it has to be Flintoff. 2005 Ashes, lived off that, unbelievable. And coach, I can't split them, but I've been very lucky to have 3 brilliant bowling coaches, and Steve Oldham, Graham Welsh, and Alan Richardson, all inspired me and helped me in lots of different ways.
Where does your obsession with fig rolls comes from?
I know that's from Chris Wright and George. I'm going to throw it out to you guys. I think the fig roll is one of the best biscuits you can get.
It's
definitely a cup of tea. Fig roll, great biscuit. Woakes, what's your favourite biscuit?
Favourite biscuit is a McVitie's digestive with milk chocolate, mate. I just can't. It's my guilty pleasure as well. I smash in so many of them.
Yeah, like a cup of tea and a biscuit. You cannot beat a cup of tea and a biscuit. I
don't end my day if I haven't had a couple of biscuits with a cup of tea.
Love that.
We've had a couple of curious questions about the items on the shelf behind you.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
So pick an
item. Room on purpose, didn't they?
Pick an
I
item.
positioned my computer here, yeah.
Pick an item from the shelf behind you and explain it in less than 30 seconds.
Oh God! All right.
Just for him.
Yeah, both of you.
What am I getting? Right. No, actually, I'll get this one. I'll get this one because there's a good. Ollie's part of this story, actually.
All right.
Me or you?
Yeah, you go.
Right. This ball is my 9 for 37 ball against Durham. I took 9 for 37, I think it was, against Durham in a county championship game, 2016, I think it was. Yeah. And I stopped Ollie from getting all 10 because he got the first one.
Yeah, I was bang on for 10 for.
Bit embarrassing that Woakes, really. Bit embarrassing.
Embarrassing.
I remember we lost that game. Woakes, you played the first innings, didn't you? And then
that's right. Yeah.
And then we blooming lost. We had a stinker after that.
Yeah.
So I'd got 9 for, and then we lost. I've got 2 stumps here. This is from the T20 final I mentioned. That's the stump when we won. Woakes bowled the last over. Bowled a great last. We beat Lancs in the T20 in 2014. Then another great day for the club. Maybe one of my favourite days for the club. This was the Lord's final stump in 2016 when we beat Surrey at Lord's.
You want to tell the audience who you got out that day, Ollie?
A bit embarrassing.
It was a ridiculous day. I seem to remember Surrey was something like 40 for none off 3 or 4 overs, like whacking it.
Yeah, Jay whacked it.
At that point on, Chris Wright, who was listening, bowled a slow ball to Jason Roy, and Laurie Evans took a great catch at mid-wicket. And from that point on, just everything went to plan. We bowled them out for 130, knocked them off by 4 o'clock. It was ridiculous. So yeah, I had a good day. I got out Sangakkara and Woakes, which was nice. But I seem to you got Slifer as well, didn't you, Woakes? You got back out. Yeah, I can be.
I only picked up a couple at the end, mate. I got Batty and back in. Yeah. Not quite as good as Kumar and folks.
Good day though, great day.
Oh, great day.
Lads, I think we're under pressure on time here, I'm afraid, but we've had over 100 questions, so we must apologise to everybody at home. What I might do is I might send you some, and I might get some out by email or something. We'll find a way to answer a few questions.
Yeah.
To get a few of these answers back, but hopefully, I mean, we've kept 100 people with us, lads, throughout an hour and 10 minutes, which is quite encouraging.
Yeah, didn't send them to sleep.
But on behalf of everybody at home, this has been like, obviously there's strange circumstances here of why we're doing this. Let's hope they don't last for the whole season. We'd be loving to get some cricket at some point. But I want to say on behalf of everybody at home, thanks for sharing everything. Really appreciate that. You've been really honest with your answers, and I'm sure people watching have taken a lot from it. So if I just flip between you to say goodbye, thank you, Ollie. Who's frozen? Thanks, mate.
Thank you, guys. No, thanks for tuning in. Have you got me?
I've got you now. Yeah. Yeah.
Take care, everyone.
And there's Woakesy. So thanks, mate. Thanks ever so much.
No worries. Thanks for having us. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. And well, hopefully some of it has been beneficial to you. If you can take one piece of advice, whatever it is, hopefully, it makes anything that it makes better for you, then hopefully that works. Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Woakesy. And there's me. So thanks a lot, guys. Hope you've enjoyed it, and hope to see you very soon. Take care. Bye.
Cheers, guys.